So I've got my Pelican kayak here, and I'm just going to modify it a little bit. I want to hook up a electric motor on the back here. All right, so I've got this little old electric motor off of a old little boat that I had, and I'm just going to take it apart here, and I'm going to take the bottom shaft here with the motor and going to make a mount for the back of my kayak so I can power my kayak with it. And hopefully I can make the top part here with the gauges, or sorry, the speed control and the switch for forward and reverse up forward in the cab, so I can control the speed and forward and reverse on the motor as well. So I basically just have to extend these two wires here because they're the one that feed the power down to the motor, which is in the bottom housing with the propeller. So what I'm going to do is just use this sort of indent they have, and I'm going to make a little bracket right here that I can stick an outboard on the back of the engine, or back of the kayak, sorry, and then run the wires forward up into the cab here and put a battery back here behind the seat. And then somewhere I'll figure out to put the controls, probably just up here in the center or something. I'm going to make this so that I can take it off if I wanted to quickly, if I just want to use the kayak without the electric motor. But I'll just kind of give you guys some steps along the way as I go. Okay, so I've made a couple of cardboard cutouts here, and so what I'm basically thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this plate here right directly onto the boat. I'm going to put a couple of screws, one on each of these corners, and I'm going to let them stick up a little bit. And then I'm going to have this second plate here, and this plate I'm going to drill corresponding holes in it with a slot, so that this will be actually mounted directly to the motor, and it'll sit down on top of here, slot in, and then lock down just with a fly nut or something like that. So now I basically got to make these two pieces, so this will be mounted right to the actual shaft of the engine here, and this piece will be mounted to the boat. So I'll show you that once I've got the pieces made and holes and stuff drilled, so you can see how that's actually going to mount. Alright, so I've just marked out my first template on this piece of stainless steel here. This is actually just a piece off of barbecue that I had, and then I'll be cutting out the second one to weld up to make into this piece. But the first one I'll do is this one here, and drill the holes in it and get it mounted to the boat. Alright, so I've got all the hardware now that I need. Made this little plate, and it's just basically going to sit on here like that, and I'm gonna have this bolt here sticking up through, so I can just put this fly nut on it. So basically is what's going to hold it, and these two little screws are going to stick up on the side, and the other plate will just lock into them. So I'll mount that on the boat now. Alright, so that's basically all that's going to stay with the boat. It'll hook over these two. The other plate that I'm going to make for the bracket for the engine will hook over these two, and I'm going to cut this bolt off a little bit, and it'll just drop down over here and just tighten this up, and that's what's going to hold it on. And I don't know if I can show you what's inside here. Let's give it a try. I just got those two bolts will be tightened up, and then the one in the front there, and basically that will just hold this plate onto the boat, and when I take the engine off, this is all that'll stay with the kayak. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this other piece out for the bracket for the actual engine, and you can see here I had it folded up before, just unfolded it and just marked it out on there, and then I'm just going to cut this out with the grinder. Alright, so there's the mount. Just got to drill a few holes in it, and then weld up these corners here, one on this side and one down this side, and then should be mounted right up. All right, so I've got it all up here now, welded up here now, and you can see it just lifts off here, slides forward, and then it comes off. So basically all I have to do now is just drill a couple holes in this and mount the engine bracket onto there. And it just goes back on the same way. Put it over the two screws, oops, pull it back and drop it down. And then we just put this screw on here just to hold the whole thing down together. I can do this with my left hand, that is. Yeah, basically that just goes on there, tightens down, and then I can easily just remove this whole thing, which will be attached to the engine. And I'll show you once I've got that done as well. Okay, so I've got it all rigged up now. Everything is complete so that I can actually use the motor now. So I've got the old little electric motor here going up through the harness, which is attached to this plate by these two screws and then just locked down with that nut. And I've just extended the wires here from where I cut it off, and I've got a this is just a thing to keep the water out of there, to keep it sealed up. So I've got that sealed up with a plug in it, and I'm going to just put a little bit of silicone around the end there as well, just to stop any water getting in there. And I've also put some silicone underneath these screws that went into the boat, just so that no water would come into there if it was raining or something. This cable then just is the original cable that went to the head unit, and I've extended it. And I just was going to make a little mounting place for this up there eventually, but right now I've just jammed the original head unit just in the side here. And all that I basically am doing is using that to control the speed, and this unit can do forward and reverse. And I've just chucked the battery down behind the seat here and have the two wires running positive, negative up to the battery. So you can see, let's turn it on, you can see it work here. So yeah, just click the switch and then the motor goes, and that should push me. So now what I'm going to end up doing is, of course, I need a way to steer this. So I've cut a piece of this tubing, and I'll show you in the house what I'm doing to do the steering. Okay, so here's the piece of tube that I cut off, and what I've done is I've just cut a slit in it and then opened it up, and I've made it so that it's just big enough to fit over the shaft outside. So this will actually just slide down over there, and then what I'm going to do is I've got this piece of plate steel here. I'm going to cut this shape out, and I'm going to weld that piece onto it. From there, I'm just going to drill a hole in each corner, and I'm going to attach a string to that, which will then go around the front of the boat and be able to steer the boat left and right with that string. And I'll show you how that looks once I've got it set up. Okay guys, I've got it all set now, and show you how the steering and the motor is actually going to work here. So like I said, I've made this plate that goes along the top here, and that plate is just slid over top of this shaft, and I've actually got it so tight that I didn't need to even put a set screw in it, but I probably will just drill a small hole in the side here and put a screw just so that it can't turn on the shaft. But basically these ropes here just go along the front, underneath the rail on the side here, and I've got a bungee cord on the front just to keep it tight. And I put these little blocks on the side just so that when I'm sitting in there I can put my hand on it to give me so I can pull and push on it. And when you come to the back here, you gotta remember you need to cross them over. If you don't cross them over, then when you pull to go right, it'll go left, and vice versa. So if you just cross the ropes over at the back before you end up going to the mount for the engine, then when you pull on the right hand side, it will go to the right, and when you pull on the left hand side, it'll go to the left. And yeah, so basically that's it. You guys can see how my setup's all done here now. And if I ever want to take this off the kayak, like I said, just basically take off this one screw here, this will just unclip. The rope can then just flip off the front, just like that, nice and easy. And then you just basically run it back down the side here. And the battery comes out. This cable for the engine is just hooked up to the main controller, which I can just pull out of here quite easily. And then I can just take the whole unit off in a few seconds. And it all fits in this back hatch here. So if I wanted to take it off, I can just throw everything in the back dry hatch. And first, when I'm leaving it on the beach, or throwing it in the back of my truck or whatever, so nothing can fall out. All fits in there. So I hope you guys like this project. I will also post a video after this to show it in the water and how it works. And I'm just going to also paint this up a little bit, make it look a little bit more custom. If you guys like this video or anything that I've done here, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, as I always am doing projects like this. You can see in the back here, if you check out one of my other videos, I've got my little 12-foot aluminum that I've converted into a console. And I've got the video on my channel for that, if you want to check that out and how I built it. And I've got one as well for how I did the steering and stuff for the motor. So hope you guys liked the video.